Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo ended in what many think is a controversial decision. You guys asked for it. Let's find out who really won this bantamweight title fight, as it was a close one. I would have to say the first, second, and fifth rounds are pretty obvious and who won those. First round goes to Aljamain Sterling, second round I would say goes to Henry Cejudo, and the fifth round 100% goes to Henry Cejudo. The third and fourth rounds seem to be the ones that are up in the air, according to what most people are saying. Now, the judges saw it very differently. The scorecards were very wonky, where they all gave the first round to Aljamain Sterling, two of the judges gave the second round to Henry Cejudo while one of them gave it to Aljamain Sterling, then all the judges gave the third round to Cejudo, and all the judges gave the fourth round to Sterling. Derek Cleary, of course, who never sees these fights clearly, scored the fifth round for Sterling, whereas the other two rightfully scored it for Cejudo. The first and fifth rounds were the most obvious, like they were the easiest to score on the card. I don't know how Derek Cleary scored that fifth round for Sterling, and because of him doing that, people are saying that he screwed up Henry Cejudo's chance of winning here. But regardless, we're going to be looking at the third and fourth rounds and determining who actually won this fight. And by scoring fights, you have to go by the scoring criteria, where in terms of effective striking, damage trumps all, and how you look at damage is not by the intensity of the strike, but it's all about the reaction when a strike lands. And also we're going to have to be looking at effective grappling, which is going to be determined by who came closer to a potential finish of the fight with takedowns, submission attempts, transitions, all of that stuff together. Simply getting the opponent to the ground and holding them there is not effective grappling. You would have to make attempts at actually going for a potential finish. So that would be like trying to get the back or something, getting a dominant position where you could deliver something that could be devastating to the opponent. And when we look at the strikes, the light strikes are not really going to matter much. They're just there to differentiate what's light, what's medium, and what's heavy. Only the damaging strikes are really going to matter in terms of scoring these rounds. And let's get right into that third round, man. Cejudo starts by landing a light leg kick, and then they get into a pretty weird collision with leg kicks. So Sterling was throwing a leg kick, but it looks like Cejudo partially checked it, causing both fighters to stumble. A nice body kick from Henry Cejudo lands as he's chasing Sterling, followed by a leg kick, and then Sterling plants himself and throws in a left straight directly into the body, but doesn't really cause much of a reaction at all, just pushes Cejudo a little bit away. Then Cejudo comes in there and throws a flying knee that partially lands on Aljamain Sterling, getting him to move backwards. Now, this did not land flush or anything like that. It looks like it grazes with the inside of the knee, which is so far the biggest strike that landed. Cejudo's on the attack and throws in a right hook, and it's hard to tell if this actually lands because it's completely blocked due to the camera angle. It's completely blocked from our view, so after Sterling shoots in a takedown and Cejudo sprawls on top, Cejudo is able to land 10 punches to the body, while Sterling also lands 9 of his while under Cejudo. Left straight from Sterling just grazes past. Sterling follows us up in this crazy scramble here with a winging hook that slaps the side of Cejudo's head, the biggest strike from him so far. It does cause Cejudo to go off balance a little bit as Cejudo's leaning to his right side, pushing Aljamain away from him. So when you see Cejudo stumbling after the blow, it's both from the shot he got hit by, but also because he was already kind of off balance. Calf kick from Sterling lands, even though Cejudo tried to check it, it didn't work. And as he's moving away from Cejudo, he is able to just touch him with a front kick to the body. And this is a little bit of a bigger strike from Cejudo, where Sterling shoots yet again. He's standing up because Cejudo did defend it, and he gets kneed to the body. Not the biggest strike in the world, didn't get the biggest reaction, but much bigger than the light strikes that's been going on in this fight so far. And on the disengagement, Sterling just slaps him, touches him with a left hook. Sterling lands another calf kick that buckles Cejudo's leg just slightly, so this is a little bit more than a light strike. Sterling then steps in with an elbow. He doesn't put a lot of power into it, still does connect on Cejudo as Cejudo's also throwing a left hook, and tries to return a right hook afterward. Again, not the biggest strike in the world. I would say this is in between a light and medium strike. While in the clinch, Sterling lands several strikes in there. 1 punch, 3 knees, 3 punches while his back is up against the fence. Cejudo lands 2 of his, and Sterling works for a good position trying to get the back. Now, he doesn't get it, but there is some credit given to him for even getting this transition, attempting to get the back. 3 punches while he's in that position, and here we get to the biggest strike of the round so far. Aljamain Sterling lands a knee to the head as he's still holding that position on Henry Cejudo, who is trying to get away. Abandoning his arms from defending himself, he eats a knee straight to the head. He follows that up with a knee to the body that lands pretty good, but doesn't get the biggest reaction. Just want to point out, this disengaging left hook from Henry Cejudo does not land to the chin. It lands toward the shoulder of Aljamain Sterling. It just did not reach far enough. You saw that happen many times for Henry Cejudo. The distance was giving him a lot of problems. And then as Henry Cejudo's defending another takedown, he does land a punch on the way down. That's how confident he was in his takedown defense. And in the sprawling position, Henry Cejudo lands 7 more light strikes there. The last shot he threw when he was standing up did not land. And then as they're standing up, Cejudo gets on the attack again, throws a leg kick into a right straight that has some good impact there. At the same time, Sterling grazed him with a left hook, but Cejudo definitely got the bigger of the exchange. Cejudo grazes a right straight, and then Sterling retaliates with a long jab as Henry Cejudo's trying to make his way in, so Sterling's keeping him away, and then grazes with a right overhand that skids past the ear of Cejudo. Both guys partially land knees on each other. Cejudo's grazes while Sterling's gets mostly blocked from Cejudo's right arm, and also grazes past it as well. So his knees thrusting into Cejudo's arm into his body. They both exchange knees on each other, 1 for 1, until Sterling actually lands a bigger knee to the body, this one not blocked at all, and gets a pretty good reaction from the blow. Punch from Cejudo before he goes and attempts a takedown toward the end of the round. While on the bottom, Aljamain Sterling lands 9 strikes with a mix of elbows and punches, and Cejudo lands 7 while on top to end the 3rd round. By tallying up all the damage, it was a very close round. The activity of the two fighters were very close, completely different than what the stats were saying about the fight. But more importantly, the damage was pretty close, but there is a distinct winner here. Aljamain Sterling caused a little bit more damage, ultimately going to win him the 3rd round, which is actually what I thought when I watched it live as well. So far, we have the 1st and the 3rd round for Aljamain Sterling, the 2nd and the 5th round for Henry Cejudo. It all comes down to the 4th round now, and then we get right into the 4th round. And Sterling starts the round with 4 leg kicks. 2 of them graze, 1 of them is definitely light. The second leg kick was somewhat damaging. This one got a big reaction out of Henry Cejudo. Cejudo then finally returns with a leg kick of his own as Aljamain's trying to hit him with a left hook. Jab from Cejudo lands at the end of the punch while Aljamain's moving away from him, decreasing so much of the impact from the shot. Sterling lands 2 grazing kicks, 1 to the body and then 1 to the leg, then grazes a jab up top as Cejudo was trying to slip on the outside of the punch. Cejudo finally returns with a shot of his own, a leg kick. Cejudo continues his attack and then grazes a left hook to the body. Then Aljamain tries to return with a leg kick. This time it was not to the calf, he was targeting higher, and he got checked this time. Very small right hook from Sterling off of his feint. There's a moment where they both almost landed on each other, so they both throw kicks. Cejudo's throwing a leg kick and Sterling's throwing a body kick. So it causes Sterling's leg kick to miss as his target is above his own leg. Sterling's kick, hard to tell if it actually lands due to the camera angle, hard to really tell, so we'll come back to it if we have to. And then they both throw a punch at each other while on one foot. Cejudo throws a jab, but Sterling's able to slip on the outside of it, and Sterling's throwing a wide right hook that gets thrown right in front of Sterling's face. This in fact does not land, as you can see. It goes right in front of his face and does not connect. He punches into Cejudo's arm, which pushes him to the side. If you were to see this in real time, it looks like he may have landed that right hook, but in fact he doesn't. Jab from Cejudo lands at the neck. Cejudo just touches him with a leg kick afterward, and then he goes on the attack, goes forward, and tries to land a big right straight, but it looks like it lands toward the chest, which pushes Sterling away. It's tough to tell when you look at it frame by frame because it does look like it could have landed on the chin, but due to the camera angle being behind Sterling, it's tough to see if his chin is actually connected on. But we're able to tell more from the full extension of Cejudo's punch being toward the chest, and that seems to push Sterling backwards. So it looks like he punches Sterling at the chest, pushing him away. They exchange leg kicks on each other. Cejudo lands a slight leg kick that almost gets checked, and then Sterling lands a bigger leg kick, causing Cejudo to get off balance, and Cejudo reaches in there with a long right straight that just touches Sterling at the end of the punch. Sterling was able to move away from the follow-up left hand, evading the punch, and it causes Cejudo to overstep. He gets far too in there and out of his stance, and Sterling counters him with a long right hook. Look at the difference in reach there, man. That was a good shot from Aljamain Sterling. Sterling goes in there for a takedown, and he actually gets countered by a knee right into the chest neck area that halts the takedown, causing a big impact there. This is a big strike from Henry Cejudo. Aljamain disengages and is able to land a right hook, and this one lands pretty good. I would say this is in between a light and medium attack. Cejudo retaliates with an inside leg kick. Sterling lands another another calf kick, gets a good reaction out of Cejudo, who loses his balance a little bit. Cejudo gets aggressive after the attack, blitzes in there in the opposite stance, taking that left leg away, and connects on Sterling with a long right that snaps his head back. As Cejudo's pressing the attack, thinking that he hurts Sterling, Sterling connects him with a slight right hook before they get into the clinch. While in the clinch, Sterling lands 17 strikes as his back is against the fence, staying really busy in the clinch. Cejudo did land 4 of his own, nothing meaningful in the clinch. Sterling grazes a leg kick as it slides up into the hip, catches the kick, and grazes a left straight. Leg kick from Henry Cejudo as Sterling's moving away from him. Sterling throws another leg kick, this one actually gets checked, then later is able to touch Cejudo with a jab, landing another one, but this jab actually snaps Cejudo's head back. Not the most damage in the world, but it's a little bit more than the other one. He stays active and throws another jab to the body this time, chains up with a pretty good leg kick, and as Cejudo is trying to counter him by blitzing in there, trying to get at his range, Aljamain slaps him with a left hook. They get into the clinch again, and Sterling is able to land 3 knees. One of them lands a little lighter as his back is up against the fence, so he couldn't drive Cejudo into them that much, but the other 2 landing with some pretty good power. Cejudo slightly lands one of his as well while he's getting pushed into the fence, so there's not much power in that knee, but he does land a body kick after the clinch though, and Sterling touches him with a right overhand, doesn't really get much of a reaction. Sterling continues the attack and lands almost like a soccer kick into the body. He literally kicks upward into the body like that, doesn't get much of a reaction from Cejudo, who was looking to block a round kick to the body, and then Cejudo just touches him ever so slightly with a jab as Sterling's moving away from him. Cejudo blitzes down, gets on the inside, and actually lands a right uppercut. Doesn't connect with full impact, but it is a decent shot that gets a reaction out of Sterling. Aljamain does graze a step-in elbow. It looks like it just touches the chin and then goes right into the chest. The full impact with his body crashing into Cejudo is mostly into the chest, but it looks like it does graze the chin a little bit. Now a body kick from Sterling, as Cejudo does grab onto it, doesn't get much of a reaction, but he does land an elbow as his leg is up in the air. This had a bit more impact. While in the clinch, Aljamain lands one punch to the body. Cejudo answers him with a knee to the body, but he doesn't get the same kind of damage as Aljamain's knees due to the fact that Cejudo is so much shorter. He has to bring his knees so high in there. Right after, Aljamain lands a bigger knee to the body. As he is much taller than Cejudo, he doesn't need to bring it that high to connect with it. This is where Sterling gets that takedown toward the end of the round, stays on top of Cejudo, but does land with 4 punches. As Cejudo is standing up, Aljamain unleashes with a combo, cracks Cejudo with a big left hook, and this gets a big reaction out of Cejudo, who curls up a bit after the blow, blasts him into his other side. He does miss the follow-up punch, but then does land a slapping left hook, arm fully extended, but this one definitely did not have the same kind of power. And that ends the 4th round. Tallying up all the damage and also taking into consideration of the takedown, yeah, this round wasn't that close. Aljamain Sterling clearly beat Henry Cejudo in the round in every which way possible. He landed more damaging strikes and had the most damaging single shots of the whole round, as well as completely outworked him. When I watched this live, I thought it was a bit closer for Henry Cejudo, but clearly not. Aljamain Sterling wins the 4th round. So did the judges get this fight correct? They did, in terms of who won the fight. The way they scored it was completely abysmal, but at least they got the right winner. Aljamain Sterling wins the 1st, 3rd, and 4th rounds, whereas Henry Cejudo wins the 2nd and the 5th. Overall, the fight was pretty close, but that's another notch for Aljamain Sterling getting his 3rd consecutive title defense, now tying Dominick Cruz. Dominick Cruz has more overall title defenses, he has 4, but he only has 3 consecutive because of that layoff that he had from the injuries. Aljamain Sterling is further showing himself to be top 5 greatest bantamweights of all time, and with his next opponent being Sean O'Malley, if he gets a good win there, this guy's an argument for greatest bantamweight of all time, even though the context of a lot of his wins are pretty controversial, DQs, injured opponents, and stuff like that, but he's at least able to keep up with the best in the world like Henry Cejudo and Petr Yan, while also defeating the likes of Corey Sandhagen in rapid fashion. And if he does the same thing to Sean O'Malley, I mean, he has to be top 2 or top 3 greatest at least in the bantamweight division. It looks like he's going to make his way up to 145 eventually, and let's see what he can do there because he's a massive guy for the bantamweight division. So I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown, and if you did, make sure to give this a thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.